maybe, you know what? Maybe it's a good time that I tell you guys the story of my life when it comes to the ladies. Should I or should I not? Should I tell it this whole story? It's kind of a long story. It's kind of a long story. But I guess I'll just say it. Guys. So, when I got out of high school, or really, when I was, let me just say this. In my last year of high school, senior year, and also in my junior year, I was very, very optimistic. I was gonna find me a trad wife. I was gonna find me, a good Christian woman of God. And we were gonna be married, and we were gonna have 50 kids. And I remember when I was in high school, sophomore year, I said junior and senior, also sophomore year of high school. There was this girl. She was part Hispanic, part German. Her father was one of those white Mexicans, and her mother was half Mexican, half German. And to me, this girl was very attractive. Now, I probably would not go with her, but at that time, at that age, I saw her as being very attractive. And so I was in a state of melancholy for quite some time. I remember I lived in this apartment. In Mexico, and I remember there were times where I would look out the window in melancholy because I did not have this girl in my life. Didn't have this woman in my life. And I was very, very bent on getting her. I was very bent on winning her, or wooing her. Wooing is the right word. So I started talking to her every day. I approached her one day. I was extremely nervous, but I did. I went over there, I approached her, and we started talking about whatever. I don't even remember what we talked about. Some small talk bullshit. It's all bullshit anyway. I mean, you're in high school, okay? In high school, everything is bullshit. Let's be real here, guys. Everything is bullshit. There's no real serious conversation, unless, of course, you're arguing over politics or religion. And even in those cases, most of the time, it's bullshit. Because you're a sixth grader and you're arguing in favor for George Bush. And then when you turn 20, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Give me a break. So we talked, and I did this every day. I'd go up, we talk. And I thought that by doing that, I could build some rapport, which really wasn't a bad idea, because people, even when adult men want to start a relationship with a woman, I mean, they will do the same exact thing, right? I mean, they talk to this girl every day and they build a rapport, and because women aren't like men. They can't go from 0 to 100 unless you're a famous celebrity. But if you're not a famous celebrity, a woman usually is not going to go from 0 to 100 for you. A man would for a woman, but a woman will not do that for a man. You have to build rapport, you got to talk to them, you have to get them comfortable around you and all that stuff. So anyway, we started talking every day, and then one day I got into a fight. I got into a schoolyard fight with another student. He was a French-Canadian guy, and it was very strange because this French-Canadian guy, he was an asshole. That's for certain. He was an asshole. He was from Montreal. Quebecois. And why did we start fighting? The reason why was because it all started from like 2 weeks before the fight actually erupted. So basically what happened was I was sitting in class one day and I overheard him talking about how he didn't like Jews or something like that. And I was like, hey, tone it down with the racism, pal. And he didn't like that. And instead of saying, hey, you're right, I shouldn't say that, he saw it as an opportunity to continue to express anti-Jewish rhetoric because he believed that it would aggravate me. And he was right. And he kept doing it. He continued doing it, and I didn't say anything to him. So one day, I was eating a bag of chips, and there was some crumbs of chips in the bottom of the bag, and I decided to go behind him and pour the crumbs of chips on top of his head. And he didn't like that, so he turned around to smack me, and as his face was about to smack my chin, I decided to punch him in the face. And his face swelled up. His face looked like it just got stung by a bunch of bees. So the teacher ran over and said, why did you do that? Blah, 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 ha, 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 ha. So I had to go to the office, and I actually felt bad about it. I actually did not feel good about myself at all. I did not feel bad. I didn't feel bad. I actually didn't feel good about it at all. I felt very bad because at that moment I instigated it. I did. I poured the chips on the back of his head. He wasn't doing anything to me. So, I instigated things. It wasn't right. It wasn't right. And I didn't feel proud about myself. So I had to go to the office. I got a 1-day suspension. The principal said, you're going to be suspended for 1 day, which was great because it's like, hey, I got the day off. Who cares? So I went back to the plaza of the school, and that girl was there. The girl was there. And she approached me and she said, why did you punch that guy? And this was my opportunity. It's like, got into a fight, punched this dude in the face. She saw it. This was an Andrew Tate moment. So she said, why did you punch that guy in the face? And I said, well, and I explained the story. And I said, the guy's an asshole. And she said, yeah, but you shouldn't have hit him. And I said, listen, do you want to go out with me? And I just, bam, right there. And she said, yes, I do. So she gave me her number. And that was it. I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like I was on a mountain. I felt like I was on top of a mountain. And then we decided to go see a movie. So we went to the movie theater. And I said, I want to meet again. So we were talking every day in school, and then we decided to go on a second date, so we went out a second time. This time we went out to McDonald's. Now, McDonald's in Mexico is not the same as McDonald's in America. In America, McDonald's is considered for poor people, working class people. In Mexico, McDonald's is considered for the rich. It's considered a rich man's restaurant. Even though they serve exactly the same stuff as they serve in America, it's considered for rich people. So asking a girl out to go to McDonald's in Mexico, pretty big damn deal, guys. Pretty big damn deal. That Big Mac, that's some Michelin star shit. Okay, that ain't no low life stuff. That's Michelin star. That ain't no watching an episode of Cops where a guy gets arrested at the McDonald's for causing a disturbance. No, this is like Gordon Ramsay level stuff. All right? This is Gordon Ramsay level stuff. So dang it. Hold on a second. There's a lag. Wait, is there a lag? Oh, no, internet's working good. Okay. So we went out to McDonald's. We hung out for a couple hours. We ate McDonald's, right? We talked for hours. Then we went to the boardwalk. Walked down the boardwalk for a good hour or 2 hours or so. We talked, we sat in the bed. Guys, it was magical. Sun was going down. It was like a 1980s music video. And it was the year 2005. I'm pretty certain it was the year 2005. It was the year 2005, guys. It was the summer of 05, okay? There's a lag. Is there a lag, guys? Internet's working fine on my end. Okay, hold up. Is there a lag? Are we good? Are we good? Can you guys... Are we good? Are we good, guys? Or are we... Okay, hold on. There's a delay. Damn it. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna check my YouTube channel. Oh, there's a freaking lag. There's 14 people watching. Are we good, guys? Or are we... Alright, we're good. So... Anyway. So we no lag on my end. Everything works fine. Okay, did you guys hear that we were in the boardwalk? Okay, it was the summer of 05. We got that? Okay, great. So the sun was going down, and she lands this nice wet kiss on my cheek. And let me tell you guys, I thought that I was on top of Mount Everest. Okay? I was on Mount Fuji. So I took the bus back home, back to the apartment, and I remember sitting on this chair in front of my TV, feeling like I had made it. I felt like I had made it. I felt like I had made it as a man, that I have won the tournament. Because men, I don't care if they're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, men, I would say definitely from the ages of really whenever you hit puberty, whenever you start getting horny as a guy, to the age of like 29, I would say that you base a lot of your value as a man on getting a woman, on being attractive to women. Now, once you hit your 30s, I would say that starts to decline heavily. But at that age, I was, how old was I at the time? 14, 15 years old. I felt like I was the top of the world. So, Valentine's Day comes in. And the school would do this thing where you could buy flowers and candy for your crush, for the girl that you liked. You could just go to the school and be like, yeah, I want to buy flowers and candy for this person. And you gave the school money, and they did it for you. Pretty crazy, huh? So I went to the school and I said, I want you to buy... I said, what do you guys have? And they said, oh, well, we have these flowers, and we have this type of candy, and this type of candy, and that type of candy, and this type of chocolate, and that type of chocolate. And I said, get it all, a flower, and give it to this girl. And they said it's going to cost you 200 pesos, which at that time was $20. And I said, here's 20 bucks. Do it. So they said, okay. So this girl, one day you see her walking around with like 3 bouquets of flowers and a whole bunch, like 8 boxes of chocolate or something like that. It was hilarious. And I thought, this is my girlfriend. That's it. This is my girlfriend. Don't chase women, chase success. Yeah. So there was going to be a school dance, and I asked her out on the dance. She said yes. I paid for her ticket for the dance, which was $20. So already, including the I didn't pay for her movie ticket, so I can't count that. I did pay for McDonald's. Actually, no, I think she paid for the McDonald's. So I didn't. So you can't count McDonald's either. So already, I've paid $40 on this girl. That's how much I paid for this girl. So that's how much money I put into this girl. So $20 for a ticket. So we were gonna go to this dance. But you see, at this point, when I got into the fight with the Quebecois, with the French Canadian guy, and I went to the movies, and then we went to the McDonald's. Okay, I felt pretty much like a winner. for the most part. But between the McDonald's date and the dance, there were these moments where I felt like a complete loser. I didn't feel confident. I didn't even know if she really liked me. Why did I have these feelings? Because I was putting in so much effort, and the energy and the vibes that I got back were not really that exuberant. They weren't really that high. They weren't high in the vibration scale. It was like there was low reciprocation, is what I'm trying to say. There was a low level of enthusiasm coming from this woman. So it's like I asked her out to go to this date. It wasn't like yes. It wasn't like oh absolutely. It was just oh sure. You know, it was low enthusiasm, low energy, low. She wasn't stoked up. She didn't appear stoked up. So my brain was receiving all this negative energy, and I was feeling it in my body. But I kept going on because I wanted to force things to happen, you see. So there were moments where I would come and talk to her, and she'd be like, I gotta go, and she'd leave, and she would just that was it, you know. It was, and I would go back to the apartment feeling like a complete loser. So yeah, that's a lot for a 14-year-old. Who knows? So so I went to the dance, and the dance was just chaotic. So the school rented out this dance hall at a restaurant in the boardwalk area to have this dance. So I go to this dance, right? And the guy who drove me to the dance was a Canadian guy. A lot of Canadians in Mexico. Canadian guy who had this giant car. I don't know what kind of car it was. I think it was an SUV. It was like this giant SUV, and this dude had like super loud speakers. He had super loud speakers, and he was a friend of mine. And he said he's older than me, and he said I'll pick you up, and I'll drive you to the dance. I said okay. So he came, picked me up, and I'm in this car, dude, and he's blasting these super loud speakers. I mean super loud. And he had like this disco ball in the car, so it was like flashing lights all around the car, and this rap music, dude. Oh my god, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. So I went to the dance. She wasn't there, but eventually she came. She dressed up very nicely. Very nice. I was very amazed by how well she dressed. But the dance, man, it was just so overwhelming. So overwhelming, guys. It was crazy how overwhelming it was, because this was really the first time I had gone to something close to a nightclub. And because it wasn't just students that were there, it was pretty much open to the public. So anyone can go into this dance and start dancing. So you had like tourists there, and you had adults that were there, and they were dancing, and there were people just dirty dancing, and it was nasty, guys. And the music was so loud. It was so overwhelmingly loud that you couldn't even really have a conversation, right? You couldn't have a conversation at all. And it's like you're trying to talk to this girl, and it's like, what? Say that again? What? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, ooh, oh, oh. And the music is so loud, and there's bright lights everywhere, and flashing lights everywhere, and people are just dancing everywhere, and there's no conversation. There's body odor in the air, and it's just, it was so overwhelming, guys. It was overload. It was It was overload. It was overload. And I was like, okay, what the hell am I doing here, right? Had a little existential moment there. And so I asked this girl, I said, you want to dance with me? She said, no. That was it. Nope. Don't want to dance with you. Even though you asked me out, I said yes, paid for my ticket, did all this bullshit, I'm not going to dance with you. Okay, whatever. And I was crushed. I was completely crushed. And she ends up going to the dance floor and dancing like a wild woman. I mean, shaking her ass. She's popping the ass up in the air. I mean, the whole thing, guys. Some guy comes over. And this is what killed me, guys. This is what killed me at that age. Now I don't give a shit, but at that age, this is what killed me. Some guy comes over, and she's bumping asses with this guy. I'm done. I'm out. Too much trauma for me. I'm out. So I decided before I leave, I'm gonna do one last attempt. I mean, I was this naive, guys. I was this horny, this naive, this much of a simp, whatever you want to say, right? This was my first experience dealing with a woman. So I approached her and I said, do you want to... This is going to sound so cringe, guys, but you know what? It's been so many years, who cares, right? Just say it. I said, do you want to have a relationship or not? And she said, I just want to be friends. And that was my introduction to something called the friend zone. That was my first experience with it. And I didn't know that such a thing actually existed, but it did. And it was right there. So I said, well, I'm going to leave. Goodbye. And she said, well, we're going to go to another club. Do you want to come with me? And I thought, well, maybe she wants me. Maybe she's playing hard to get. You know, like all these little things come up to your head. Like maybe she likes me now. Like, oh, it's just your brain is not fully functioning at this age. It's just not. You're kind of retarded at this age. So I said, well, yeah, sure. And she said, well, we're going to be partying until like 2 a.m. And I said, okay, I'm done. So I left. I got into the cab, and I remember giving the cab driver like $2, and I said, can you take me home? He said, sure. It was 11:30, almost basically midnight. It was 12 midnight. And I remember going home, and I remember just coming to this apartment at midnight and feeling like complete trash, just destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And the next morning I woke up. I went out to the balcony. I took some little gardening pots. I filled it up with gardening soil, and I put some little seeds in the pot, in each pot. I watered them. I took some dried coral. I put some dried coral on the soil because I wanted to do an experiment to see if it actually would help plants, because I was very interested in plant botany, and I was very interested in coral reefs at that time. This was like my obsession at that age, was coral reefs. And I lived near the ocean, so I would go swim in the ocean, and I would look at what was in the bottom of the, what was on the ocean floor and on the shallow area, of course. And I always used to explore tide pools, so I was very much into tide pools. I would look at different animals in tide pools, and I was just fascinated by the ocean and how it can affect nature on land. So here I was doing my little science experiment on the balcony, and I remember overlooking the balcony, looking at everything around my apartment building, and I just had this existential moment of peace. And at that moment, at that existential moment, I realized that this was what life was about. That life was about silence, and planting and growing food and appreciating nature and being in the moment with nature. And I remember it was a cloudy day. People think Mexico is all sunny and everything. Actually, it was cloudy many days of the year. It was very cloudy, and we would get a lot of rain, tons of rain. And I remember it was a foggy, cloudy day, very, very tropical weather, and just looking outside, pouring my little water pour into the pots, and just being at complete peace. Like I didn't need her. Like I could live with myself. This isn't that bad. And then of course there was the feeling of heartbreak and all these things that came later on, but at that moment I felt exactly what I needed to feel, and I felt the mindset that I needed to have. So anyway, that's a very silly story, and it's a story from my high school years. But I didn't ask a girl out on a date in high school ever again after that. So after high school, I decided that I was going to start pursuing women again. So I asked a lot of girls out, and it wasn't online. I wasn't going on Tinder. I wasn't going on any of these dating sites. I was actually doing, believe it or not, guys, I was doing day game for a long time. I was doing day game, and this was before I heard about Roosh or any of these day game guys on YouTube. I was doing day game. I was going to the bookstore. I was talking to random girls. I was asking girls out, and I went on a few dates, and then I began to do speaking engagements and speaking tours. So I began to meet a lot of people, and in meeting a lot of people, of course, you meet women, and you start communication with them, and I went out with women and all these things, and it was weird because, and this happened in my 20s, and it was weird because in the decade of my 20s, I would go out with all these different girls, and I always felt empty. I never felt fulfilled. And I would go out on a date, and I would come home, and I always felt empty. Always. Like, I never came home feeling like, this is it. Like, this is the one. I always felt like shit. And I remember asking this one girl out. She was from Colombia. We met at the bookstore. We started talking, and then I asked her if she wanted to go out with me. She said, sure, blah, blah, blah. So we met at this restaurant, and we started talking and talking. We talked for a few hours, and everything was going well. And then she tells me, literally like near the end of the date, before the bill comes, she tells me, Ted, I am in love with a man who is insane. I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, I'm in love with a man who's insane. I'm in love with a man who is violent, who is erratic, and who is deranged. And I said, let me guess. And at this point, I was looking at all of the red pill, black pill stuff online. This was this had to have been back in let me think, hold on. This had to have been back in 2000, like late 2010, early 2011. So already I had been looking at all the black pill stuff online, and the MGTOW kind of material that was going on online at that time. And this is why I say there's nothing new with Andrew Tate. There were many Andrew Tates that came before him. It's only the difference is that Andrew Tate is the first one that really, really became super famous. But there were many Andrew Tates before Andrew Tate. But I was looking at all the red pill stuff, all the black pill stuff, and I remember looking at her and saying, let me guess, you like him because he's a psychopath. And she looked at me and she said, yes, I'm attracted to him because he's violent and he's aggressive and he has all these dark traits. And I remember going home thinking, it's hopeless. It's completely hopeless. This is not happening. You can't organize your feelings. Yeah, you're right, you can't. It all happens together. It all happens randomly. And all these different events happened randomly. All these different types of events that give you all these negative emotions, all this negative energy. It all happens. It all feels random. It all feels random. But there comes a point where it doesn't feel random anymore, because all of the negative experiences that you had accumulate together in your brain to form a positive concept of yourself. Because you realize, why am I wasting my time going through all these negative experiences? I need to just appreciate myself and live my life. Live my life. And so you don't, I wouldn't call it compartmentalization, but your brain just naturally, and maybe it's not your brain, maybe it's your soul, I don't know, but it just takes all of these negative experiences, puts it all together, and says, Ted, what the hell are you doing? Stop! And you just stop. You just stop. But in my 20s, I continued on, going out with girls, trying to meet somebody, going out, I was like, see, that's the thing, is people say, oh, look, you're single, you should be going out. But I did all that already. I went out with enough women. I know this stuff. It's not like I'm sitting around playing World of Warcraft all day. And World of Warcraft, that game, listen, that game's pretty boring, so I'm not sitting here playing World of Warcraft. But it's like I was proactively pursuing marriage all the time for years. And then I met people from churches who got married, and I'm like, how the hell did you do this? And they're like, I don't know, dude, I just prayed to God and the girl came. It's like, okay, whatever, God bless you. After I got out of high school, when I was, when I was 18, I joined a kickboxing school. It was a Taekwondo American kickboxing school ran by a guy who you could compare to the teacher from Cobra Kai from the Karate Kid, okay? Like water is for the weak type of thing, that type of guy. He was that kind of a teacher. He was a very rough teacher. And I stayed with him for 2 years. I trained under him for 2 years because I thought that this was how martial arts was. And in a way, martial arts is that way. A lot of sparring, a lot of fighting, a lot of training, a lot of bag hitting. It was a lot of fun. I felt like, and before I got into martial arts, I couldn't kick above my knee, couldn't do the stretch, couldn't stretch, couldn't kick above my knee. I was very sloppy, terrible cardio. Listen, everything that you would expect from someone who's never trained in martial arts. That's what I exhibited. That's what I showed. So I went to this martial arts school and I sucked. I was getting my ass kicked. And after about 6 months of training, I started getting a little bit better, but I was still getting my ass kicked, but I was getting a little bit better. And after about 8 months, I was like, wow, this is really good. After about a year of training, I was able to do the splits. I was like, damn. And I felt like this, for the first time ever, I felt like this serious evolution of myself. It was stronger than any drug. It was stronger than alcohol. It was stronger than anything. It was this evolution of myself. I can do this. I can do the splits. I can kick somebody in the face. I started watching all the martial arts films. Jack Van Damme. I started watching these Korean martial arts films that no one ever heard of. I watched this Korean movie on Taekwondo. I watched Chinese martial arts films. I was watching everything. I was watching the movie on the guy who came up with... I watched Ip Man. That was another masterpiece that I watched. I got into Kyokushin Karate. I didn't go to Kyokushin Karate school, but I started watching videos on Kyokushin Karate. Started watching videos on Muay Thai. One day, and early in my training experience, I started watching this guy named Mirko Cro Cop, and this was the first time that I seriously started watching a professional fighter. Was Mirko Cro Cop, and I was watching all of his fights. I watched him fight against Andy Hug. I watched him fight against Fedor Emelianenko. I watched him fight against Alexander Emelianenko. I watched the whole thing. The drama. He was the what was it? It was like right foot hospital, left foot cemetery. I was just that was it. He was the guy that I looked up to, and I watched all of his training videos. I watched the whole documentary on Mirko Cro Cop, and I was like, I want to emulate this guy. So I got into kicking. You know, I was in a Taekwondo school, so naturally we trained kicks. So I got into, you know, kicking, and I was like, you know, body kicks and rib kicks, and then I remember one day these two guys came into the dojo. And one of them had a fire department t-shirt. He was very muscular, this guy, and he had this fire department t-shirt. And he was new, and he was very muscular, this guy. He was like, just, you can tell this guy was very, very, in very good shape. So I remember my instructor, he says, Ted, I want you to fight this guy. So I said, okay. So I remember it was nighttime. It was like 8:30, 8:45 at night, close to 9 p.m., late at night. And we were out, we were in the school. We were in the part of the school basically close to the exit, so you're around all these windows and everything. And I remember this guy started fighting me, and I had no idea who this guy was. He just popped up in the school. And I remember he came up to me, and we shook hands, and he starts throwing head kicks at me. Like going full throttle. Boom, boom, they're trying to knock me out. I remember backing up. And I remember just hitting him in the solar plexus, right in the center of the chest. And he just dropped. And this guy was way more muscular than me, way more in shape than I was. He was obviously way more athletic than I was. He could have been in the fire department, I don't know. But I remember just hitting him in the solar plexus, and he dropped. And I was like, what in the hell have I become? Like, this is amazing. Like, this is power, guys. I was so drunk off of this experience. I was drunk off of the experience that I could fight somebody who was athletic, who was built, and I could pose a threat to them. Like, I could stand up for myself. And it wasn't like the sadistic feeling. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I enjoyed watching this guy writhe in pain as he, fell to the floor. I wasn't like that at all. It was that this guy is way more muscular, way more athletic than I am, but yet I can stand up to him. It was this feeling of self-empowerment. And it wasn't that I hated the guy. I respected the guy, obviously. I feared him. I was intimidated by him. But I still managed to hold my own. And that was this power that martial arts gave me. And I became addicted to it. And I remember my father was like, you should leave martial arts because you're going to get injured and all this stuff. I said, man, you don't understand. This is like, for the first time ever, I feel like I don't give a shit about what other people think. Like, this is amazing. It's an amazing experience. So now, here I was, Mr. Karate Kid, and I'm thinking, like, when women rejected me, it stung a little bit, but I was like, man, you're missing out. And I would go to training, and like that was the highlight of my day, was going to training. And but what was weird is I was like in very good physical condition. I was in very good shape. I was doing all these sparring rounds and Taekwondo sparring rounds, just so much fun. And I wasn't that great. I was still getting my ass kicked and all that stuff. But it was fun at the same time. And women were still rejecting me. That was the crazy thing about it, because I thought, wow, get in shape, get yourself a hobby, be athletic. Women are going to go after you. And there were women who did go after me in the school. There were female students who liked me. But I was too shy to follow through. But there were girls that I did pursue outside of the school, and they were still rejecting me. And I was like, man, I don't get it. Like, I'm in shape, I'm tall, I'm this, I'm that, I'm still getting rejected. And then I would meet guys who were like overweight, flabby bastards with good-looking girls, and I was like, I was just shocked. I was befuddled, okay? I was befuddled. So I was a little bit confused. Whatever. So I continued on. Nothing ever worked out. Nothing ever worked out. And the reason why nothing ever worked out, usually it was because I would invest too much interest in the woman. That's really what it came down to, is I would invest too much interest. And the moment that I stopped being interested, and it never failed, the moment I stopped being interested, that's when the woman would come to me. That was my experience. So there was this one girl that I really liked, I remember. She was Italian-American, very good looking. And I liked her, I pursued her, and she said, I just want to be friends. Okay. And every time I pursued her, she would always tell me the same thing. I just want to be friends. Okay, fine. So one day, I stopped responding to her texts. I didn't call her. I didn't do shit. Because I said I had enough of this bullshit. I'm done. I'm out. So then, she texts me one day. She says, what happened to you? And then she's like, I like you. You're this, you're that. It was like a different person. Why? Because I ignored her for like 2 weeks. So really what it comes down to is once you can have a six-pack, you could be freaking Jack Van Damme, okay? You can be a martial artist, you could be in good shape, athletic, all that stuff, tall, everything. You could be all that stuff. When you show too much interest, all that shit gets thrown out the window. That's just the bottom line. All that shit gets thrown out the window because to her, you must be a lower quality catch because you have made yourself too available. You're too easy. So you must be low quality. There must be something wrong with you. There must be something wrong with you. Because you've made yourself too easy for me. But if you make yourself too difficult for me, well, there must be something really good about you, because the fact that you're ignoring me means you're going after other women because you're a high quality guy. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all delusional. But it is what it is. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So I went to, and when I was 29 years old, I went to Italy. I went to Italy and I went to Rome. And I remember celebrating my 29th birthday in Rome, in downtown Rome. And I went to this restaurant. And I said, and it was at nighttime, I remember. And I said, I want a pasta norma. Now, what is a pasta norma? Pasta norma is it's a classic Sicilian dish consisting of spaghetti and eggplant. The eggplants are deep fried and slow cooked in tomato sauce and a basil tomato sauce. And then the eggplant tomato sauce coats the spaghetti, and you mix it all up with olive oil, and it's a classic eggplant dish, right? It's not complicated. It is what it is, but it's a very popular dish in Italy, especially in the South. So I remember going to this restaurant. I said, "Give me the pasta norma." Now, before I came to Italy, right, every pasta norma I ate was made by my own hand. I never went to a restaurant and ordered a pasta norma. Because pasta norma is not something that is generally known, even in the American Italian world. It's not generally known, or at least it's not something that you can just find in your general American Italian restaurant. You go to a general American Italian restaurant, you're going to find what? Pesto ravioli, you're going to find pizza, obviously, spaghetti with marinara sauce, spaghetti and meatballs, fettuccine alfredo. Like, this is the typical American Italian stuff. It's not bad, but that's what you're going to get. So here I am in Italy. Now is my chance to order the dishes that I could not find in Italian restaurants in the US and that I had to make at home. So I ordered a pasta norma. This Italian guy comes back. He puts this plate in front of my face. It is a plate with bland spaghetti. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, where's the eggplant? Where's the tomato sauce? Where's the basil? Where's the Parmesan? Where's the good stuff? And I'm searching around with a fork and I find these little tiny pieces of eggplant. And I felt so ripped off. Guys. So then I remember You know, it was nighttime, just turned 29. I'm in this restaurant and I'm getting ripped off. I'm being robbed by these Italians. These damn Italians are robbing me. So I remember going back to my hotel, and here I was. It's 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. I'm in this apartment in downtown Rome, single, feeling just lonely, very lonely. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm 29 and I still haven't found a wife. And I remember thinking to myself, if I'm going to be 30 years old and maidenless, marriageless, then what the hell is the point of my existence? Like, I began to actually have these existential thoughts. I began to feel existential dread. And I remember thinking, man, like, where is my value as a man if I'm going to be 30 years old and maidenless? And I felt just utter despair, just despair. So I remember when I turned 30, something in my brain clicked. And it didn't happen immediately, but like a few weeks after I turned 30, something in my brain clicked where I just came to the point where I told myself, I just don't give a shit anymore. And you know how when you say I don't give a shit, but you really do give a shit? This wasn't that. This was a moment where I truly didn't give a shit. That was it. And it's like my brain just said, you know what, Ted, we can't do this anymore. This isn't going to work. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to go crazy. You're going to go insane. And just flip the switch down. Just grabbed the lever and pulled it down and said, we can't do this anymore. This is too much. You can't handle this. We're done. And that was it. Something clicked. And maybe it's because my mind just got so tired of the negative experiences that it just said, fuck it. To hell, just end it. Boom, done. And once I stopped giving a shit, then I would talk to girls. And they were the ones texting me and saying, hey, where are you? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you calling me? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? And I'm like, wow. All those years listening to those black pill people, those red pill people, those red pill gurus, all those years hearing about how you have to ignore women and don't give them attention, and don't be available, and don't be an easy catch. All these things that I heard were true. It's all true. All the stuff that you hear from like all that stuff is true. Like, you can't make yourself too available. You can't make all that stuff is 100% true. It's all 100% true. But you know what? By that point, I was like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. If I have to sit here and, play this stupid game with a girl who's my age, with a girl who's 32, that's just silliness. So anyway, that's my experience. The little story. I actually wanted to tell you guys this story for a while. I just never really felt like it, but today I felt like it, so I told you guys a story. But that is my story. Now I'm gonna read your all's comments. I've been streaming for almost 2 hours. God damn. So here we go. Let's read your guys' comments. Here we go. Hold on. Deutschland must be partitioned forever. Is your brother married? I don't like talking about my family outside of the... Honest to God, guys, I don't like... Outside of my father... My father is already a known person. I don't really like talking about my family on stream. I just don't like talking about it because you know how people are. People in the public listen to it and they want to pry and ask questions, and it's just I don't like it. Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks. Yep, French Canadian are a bunch of crazy people. Theo the bully. Semite versus Aryan fight. Semites are gonna take revenge. Come on, don't lie. You felt a little good about it. A little bit in the beginning, but I felt once the adrenaline wore off, I didn't feel good about it. I actually apologized to the guy afterwards. I did actually. I apologized to the guy afterwards. Some girls find it attractive. Yeah, some girls, a lot of them do. OG Theo, nah, just a erratic teenager. Ted learning from Tate before knowing about Tate. Ted be like, am I the French Canadian brothers keeper? But these women we should not date with. Agreed. You did something, girl. You did something I find ethically wrong. Will you date me? Steel wins battle. Gold wins war. 2005. I was 5 years old. Yeah, man, this is a long time ago. It's ancient. This is ancient times. Everything works fine. Don't chase women, chase success. You know, I always love the black pilled advice coming from Joshua George. It's always much appreciated on the stream. I'm 100% convinced that Ted's whole worldview is based on high school trauma. No, actually it's not. That's much for a 14-year-old. It's gonna take money. The Book of Numbers, analyzing the ROI on the pursuit of... You deserved better. I feel you, though. I also felt like that people are so mean sometimes. You have met the wrong chick. Pretty much every girl I've met was the wrong girl. Not pretty much every girl that I have ever met was the wrong girl. Every girl. Not saying that that I did something to... It's not saying that none of it was my fault. Like, the fault that I did was caring too much and chasing too much and being too available and being too clingy and being too desperate. All that shit. I did all that shit, guys. And that was clearly my fault, right? Clearly it was. And I'm going to take accountability for that. I'm not going to sit here and be like, all these women are wrong. No, I was just too whatever. I was too clingy and all that shit. You can find a good one. Okay, dog, I see you got issues with the ladies. Let me help you. Go to local Verboom. Step 2, Buy Jama by Ivan Goran Kovacic. Step 3, women can't resist your knowledge of morbid partisan war poetry. You don't notice it because mega autisms. They friend zone people to feel wanted. I think they friend zone people because they don't want to hurt their feelings. I think that's what it is. I think that they just say, I'm not interested in this guy. But I don't want to be like a complete cold-blooded person. So I'm going to say, well, let's just be friends so that we can end things in a painless way. I think that's really what it comes down to. Life has a lot of things mushed together. Don't get thrown off from good things because some inconvenient experience. I agree. Good story. I appreciate that. The Book of Numbers, analyzing the ROI, whatever. Damn, Theo got game. Not really. For this reason, we have to date a godly woman. Okay. Are you rouge pilled? I never really got into these people. What happened was, when I was in martial arts, I started really pursuing women, and then I not really pursuing a lot, but I did pursue some, and then it didn't work out, and all this bullshit. And then I remember looking into dating stuff, and it was all about just ignoring women. Like, every piece of dating advice that I found online was pretty much the same thing. It pretty much came down to the exact same thing, which was, do not make yourself overly available. That is the number one worst mistake that you can make when pursuing women. That's what I've heard. Like, you can smell nice, you can shower, and you're supposed to do all those things as well, right? You're supposed to smell nice and shower and keep yourself physically fit, somewhat physically fit, all these things. But the moment you make yourself too available, all that gets thrown out the window.